Hi, Sandi Maki here with a little bit of heavy breathing just before midnight. I've been noticeably absent for the past several days in posting new podcasts. I've been traveling and doing speaking events, and quite frankly, I needed to give myself a little bit of a break. One of the things that I've come across in my travels is something that a friend of mine, Carol Palmatier, refers to as bliss guilt. And this bliss guilt is something that I think a lot of people face, especially those who maintain a positive attitude. And I was reminded again of it this weekend when my son had a birthday party. He said one of his friends thought that I was odd. And I said, "Why does your friend think I'm odd?" And he said, "Because you're happy, I guess." And that was just an interesting thing, and it made me ponder. I know that there's a lot of people right now that are maybe traveling through life, not quite sure what to make of it, and survival, getting through one day to get to the next, might be the biggest, most exciting thing that they'll do. And in my life, that's simply not the case. In my life, because I choose to, I am continually looking forward to new amazing things. I'm traveling more than I ever dreamt that I would. My kids are happy and healthy, and each day as something new comes up, I don't face it as a hurdle or an obstacle to get through, but an opportunity for something to be new and different. And I wanted to get back to what my friend Carol says about this, because she wrote a post about it on her blog. She's known as the Words Girl on WordPress. And here's what she shared about bliss guilt. There's a tendency in many of us to curb our enthusiasm, dampen our spirits, in order not to offend those who are not as happy. Sometimes we go so far as to complain about trivial things in order to maintain the appearance that life sucks for us too, not just you. Especially in the last few years, it's just not seemly to be content, doing well, thriving even. How rude. Carol calls it bliss guilt, and she's done with it. To be sure, there's a big difference between gloating and being happy. If you're talking to someone who's hurting from a job loss, now is not the time to prattle on about the juicy new project you just landed. Still, you are serving absolutely no one if you drop down to the lowest common denominator. You can be compassionate and empathetic without, consciously or not, denigrating your own level of happiness. To the best of your ability, maintain your own positive vibration. It will not only serve you in reminding you to be grateful, it just may help the person that you're with. Those positive vibes do rub off. As you radiate your own positive outlook, it will find root in the tiniest bit of receptive ground. So while misery may love company, and I'm sure it does, it will find no company here. We are here to experience the wonder and delights of this life, not to wallow in despair and sadness. If you feel that spark of joy, even if only for the occasional moment, share it. Be a spark. Your ounce of love can counteract 1,000,000 pounds of fear and may be just the lifeline that someone else needs to see a glimpse of light. Wag your tail. And of course, accompanying this post is a cute picture of a puppy. So I think the lesson here, if there is such a thing as a lesson, is that sometimes when we are happy, we feel like we shouldn't be shouting it from the rooftops as much if we're around someone who might be struggling. And yet, sometimes if there's adults around us that are struggling, there's still kids that are paying attention to the window being just the slightest bit open. I know that I come across this sometimes, and there's a difference between bragging and telling it like it is, and that might be a fine line, especially depending on which chair you're sitting in. For someone that is having a rough time with life, any news, any good news shared could be considered too much or bragging. But I don't think that means that we should stop doing it, because I hear a lot of people saying that life is good and they're having a great time. And if I had to count or had to measure, I think there's even more voices that might be talking about the struggles. So if each one of us every day spent a little bit more time wondering about how we can make someone else's day a little bit brighter, or sharing just a little bit of the wonder that's been going on in our own life, I think the positive voices can soon start to outweigh the not so positive voices. And I'm succumb to this as well. I'm glad that my son's friend sees me as happy. And if he were to ask my kids or my son, why is your mom so happy? I don't exactly know what Kyle would say. I would imagine he'd say, well, I guess she's just normally that way. And that is the way that I try to be most days. So take a minute, ponder this situation that society has gotten ourselves into with this thing called bliss guilt, as Carol so creatively put it, and decide if you're going to be on the side of talking about happiness a little bit more and leaving that bliss guilt for someone else. Because I think we all need to raise our tune, raise our vibration a little bit, and make the world a little bit of a happier place. So I'll start at the beginning of this week telling you that my calendar is full of amazing things, planning a couple trips, looking forward to a highly successful and profitable experience as I move forward. My life is fantastic, and every day I wake up super excited to see what the next moment or moments are going to unfold, because whether it's perceived as good or it's perceived as an opportunity to grow, it is all wonderful. And every day, in every way, my life gets better and better. So what more could I ask for than that? I'm going to have my bliss, and I'm going to share it with you too. Until next time.